guys, in this video I'm going to give you 16 reasons as to why you should become an EMT or a paramedic. I have my list right here. Reason number one, it's fun. It's very fun. What I mean by fun is basically we get to drive around lights and sirens and run red lights with due regard. Obviously we're not gonna like try to get into an accident on purpose, even though it does happen sometimes, but basically our job is very fun. It's very exciting, and it definitely get your adrenaline pumping, so that's a plus side for it. Number two, you become a better driver. When you drive an ambulance for 8 hours, 12 hours, or even 16 hours straight, when you get in your car feels like a little scooter. At least for me, like I drive this big ambulance. When I get inside of a car or a minivan or even another van, it feels so much smaller, and by feeling smaller it makes me a better driver. By the way, these are not in any particular order, not from best to worst or from worst to best. It's just a random order. Number three, I would say it makes you a better parent. Being that, at least for me, being that been a paramedic for such a long time, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of different people, but at the same time I've also had a lot of different patients, and being that I've had a lot of different patients, I've been able to see how kids and people get injured and common trends in these injuries. So I've been able to avoid injury with my kids, basically. So like if you have a patient that is burned, it marks you, you know, you remember it. And if you have your child that's like getting near a stove, you remember that patient that was burned, and it makes you a better parent because it makes you more cautious. And at the same time, your kid looks up to you a lot of times. Like my kids, every time he sees an ambulance or a cop car or a fire truck, he's always like, hey, papi, mira, ambulancia, papi trabajar. He's like, in Spanish, he's saying papi's going to work or papi's at work. So that's another reason, or how it makes me a better parent. Also, you have MOS perks. MOS is member of service, and perks is kind of like, you know, being that you're working side by side with police officers and firefighters and other paramedics. When we run across each other, let's say when we're off duty, we kind of look out for each other. For example, there's a beach by my house that there's an area for us to park in that's specifically for members of service. So that's a good perk. And also, if you're off duty and let's say you get pulled over by a police officer, not to say you should be breaking laws, but if for some reason there could be some leeway in a traffic ticket or whatever, usually if you're MOS or a member of service, they'll take that under consideration. Next, I have quality of life. Tell me who you are. Tell me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you who you are. A lot of wise people say. And basically, if you're working somewhere, most of the time you're with these people a lot of times during the week, a lot of hours throughout the week, and some of their demeanors and their point of views rub off on you. So what better way to have a person rub off on you or influence you than the person who's selfless, a person who's brave, a person who's willing to help others. So your quality of life improves in that sense, because you'll be surrounded by people that are helping others, and a lot of times helping themselves also move forward in life, through working as an EMT and paramedic. And that brings me to number six. Number six, it's I would say EMS is like a gateway. It could be a gateway into becoming a firefighter if you're interested. That's a very big promotion here in New York City. It's the gateway. It could be a gateway into nursing, a gateway into becoming a physician assistant. Like I've met EMTs that became nurses. I've met EMTs that became physician assistants. I've met paramedics that became doctors. Like in my case, I started off as an EMT, then I became an EMT instructor, then I became a paramedic, and then I became a doctor. So that's just like, you know, I show my story could be an example of how EMS could introduce you to so many other things. So it's like a gateway. Number 7, it helps you deal with stress. And I would say when I was in my internship phase, and there was a lot of stressful situations that my classmates who didn't have the medical experience, like I did, they would let the stress get to them. But with me, it was kind of like I've seen worse. So when I was exposed to the stress, I knew how to handle it, and I was cool, calm, and collective under pressure. So that's another perk of being an EMT or a paramedic, that you're put under such stressful situations when you're at work, that when you're off work, you know how to handle it and you know how to keep your calm. Number 8, you become the expert. I remember as soon as I finished my EMT course and learned how to take a blood pressure in my house, I was the doctor. Way before I even thought about becoming a doctor, they were already calling me the doctor because I had some medical experience, some medical knowledge. So, especially for those that are not surrounded by medicine or medical professionals, when you become an EMT, your neighbors and your relatives, they all look to you for medical advice. Number 9, you get to help others. There's no feeling like it when you show up to somebody's house and they've been waiting for you anxiously to arrive, and then you finally get there and you get to make a difference in a person's life. There really is that is very, very rewarding, and that one's got to be like almost on the top of the list, pretty much. Number 10, especially for guys, you get to wear uniform, man. What girl doesn't like to see a guy in uniform? You know what I mean? And ladies also, wearing a uniform is it's very commendable. It looks good. You're presentable. Especially if you have your shirt tucked in and it's clean. Not like me. I kind of spilled. I was drinking a strawberry smoothie from a little while before recording this video. I'll have to clean that with some alcohol. But let me see. 11 benefits. There's good benefits depending on where you work. So if you work for a private hospital or for the fire department, you have benefits that cover you from head to toe and your family. So having benefits and a good retirement plan is always good when you're choosing a career path, and EMS definitely has those, depending where you work, obviously. 12, it's a workout. A lot of times we sit down in the ambulance and we're just hanging out, but there's jobs or there's assignments that we go on that are very physically demanding, and if you're not in shape, it'll probably motivate you to get into shape. And if you are in shape, it's considered to be part of your workout. Like, there's days that I get out of work and I'm like, today was so busy and we went up and down so many stairs and carried so many people and had so much work to do that I don't even have to work out today. 13 is you get to tell a friend. I would say in my neighborhood there weren't that many medical professionals, and I was probably one of the first, not the first, but one of the first EMTs in the neighborhood, and I got to tell a lot of my friends, and not everyone listened, unfortunately, but the ones that did are now still in EMS, still working as EMTs and paramedics, and they're doing much better than they were before they started doing EMT. So you get to tell a friend and get to influence them to do good in life. 14, you get to save a life off duty. Let's say you're at a restaurant and someone's choking on a chicken bone or something. You already know the Heimlich maneuver, you already know CPR, and you're able to provide the initial phases of treatment before the ambulance gets there and takes the patient to the hospital. And that could potentially save somebody's life. So you get to be able to help people even if you're off duty with the knowledge you obtain. Like me, for example, I was an EMT and I was on the airplane and they were like, hey, is there a doctor on the plane? Is there a doctor on the plane? And I looked around, there was no doctor because nobody got up. But I was an EMT and I'm not shy, so I got up, I went to go check. There was a person who had signs and symptoms of hypoglycemia. I acted accordingly. I got some orange juice, put some sugar on it. had the person drink because they were conscious enough to drink, and their sugar went back up. And I remember the airline gave me a free flight, so I mean, I didn't do it for the free flight. I had no idea that they were going to give me a free flight, but they took my information afterwards, and they said thank you with a free flight. So that's one example. 15, you make lifetime friends, because a lot of the people you work with, you build bonds with. It's just you and that person, your partner on the ambulance, and you get to build bonds with them. And a lot of times we go through stuff together that only you and that person would understand. Like if you were my partner, let's say, and we did an assignment where there was a huge fire, and in that fire we had a lot of patients that required a lot of medical treatment, you and I built that bond because you looked out for me, I looked out for you. We worked together to help these people, and the more you do that with the same person, the stronger the bond becomes, and you end up being each other's godfather for each other's kids, or best